Hello and welcome to UniKL E-Debate Youth Cup 2021. Thank you to all the lecturers, students, and supporters for being here today. My name is Najwa Binti Hakim, and I will be your chairperson and timekeeper for this session. Today's session will be adjudicated by Mr. Raihan, Miss Lauren, and Mr. Shakib. We are going to start the semi-final round by reading the motion. The motion for this debate is the House would give women 2 votes in political elections. The members of the government side representing UniKL MIAT are Aiman as the Prime Minister, Ben as the Deputy Prime Minister, Arfan as the government whip. All the reply speech from the government side will be given by Aiman. The members of the opposition side representing UniKL MSI are Tuan Ashraf as leader of opposition, Sarah as the deputy leader of opposition, Adam as the opposition whip. The reply speech from the opposition side will be given by Tuan Ashraf. So before we begin, I will briefly explain the rules. Each of the main speeches is 7 minutes long. The first and last minute of each of these speeches is known as protected time, which means that no points of information or POI may be asked by the opposition bench. The reply speeches are 4 minutes long and are entirely protected from POIs. As the timekeeper, I will mark the opening and closing of protected time with a single bang, once at 1 minute, and a second time at 6 minutes. I will also indicate that a speaker's time is up with a double bang. If a speaker continues for a further 15 minutes, the indicator will start with a triple bang. And thereafter, continuously until the speaker stops. The indicator for the reply speech will start as single bang at 3rd minutes, double bang on 4th minutes. If the speaker continues for a further 15 seconds, the indicator will start with a triple bang and thereafter continuously until the speaker stops. Could I politely ask that phones will be switched off for the duration of each debate? If you wish to use your phone, please mute your mic and switch off your video to respect the ongoing session. Participants, you will have a 10 minutes grace period if you are disconnected. Please continue your speech during that period. We will move on to the next speaker if you fail to reconnect after the grace period. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the first speaker of the debate, the Prime Minister, to the floor to open the debate.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Harriet Tubman has said, "Every great dreamer begins with a dream." Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. So this is what we, the government team, want to do regarding this motion. This house would give women 2 votes in political elections. Before I go any further, I would like to bid good morning to the lovely educators, to the timekeepers, and to my comrades in the government team and the opposition team, and not to forget the members of the floor. So, first and foremost, I will give the definition of this motion. The motion is this house would give women 2 votes in political election. What is the meaning by woman? Woman is defined as adult female human beings, while votes uh, are a formal indication of choice. And what is political elections? Political elections is a formal decision by making uh, individual to hold the public office. So let me tell you how presidential a political election works. The people who are interested to hold the public office um, will make themselves will enter the voting the election, and the people who are not participating in the election, sorry, in the participating in the election will vote for the people who will hold the public office. So the status quo of this
POI.
current, yes.
All right. So what you're basically saying is that you want to abolish the current system and making a new one, or what?
No, I'm just simply uh, stating how political election works. Okay, so the status quo is both male and female are allowed to vote once in most countries, but there are a few countries that didn't allow or even making it hard for women to vote. For example, Vatican City, and where women can vote, can't vote, and in Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan, where women are hard to vote. So this motion, what the mechanism that we want to bring with this motion, which is we want to give women the right to vote two times, but we want to start it with a small scale first, which is like um, state voting for 2 years, so that we can study the pro and cons. Furthermore, because note to you guys, the pro and cons that we have are theoretical, but not when it is do it physically. So this will allow the government to study more and further refine before implementing it to the nation. So moving on to my first argument, why the government want to support this motion, which is this house would give women two political votes in political elections, because we want to allow the women to cover up the remaining percentage of the voters who can't show up to the vote. The reason is in recent studies in the United States, there are roughly 63% of women who showed up to vote as compared to their male counterpart, which is standing at only 59. So this 4% gap can be important in deciding who will hold the public office. So let me give you the example of how my argument is valid, because by allowing women to vote with the woman with higher turnout rate for voting, they can represent they can represent uh, maybe their husband who can't show up because of paralysis, because of comorbidities. We will never know.
POI.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing that you state is that this 4% gap. Okay. So this also contributes to the factor that people doesn't want to vote. And second, also men is more the population is much higher than women. And the second thing is you
Sorry,
talked
sorry.
about
Can you slow down a bit? I can't quite catch up.
all right. So the 4% gap includes those
Yes.
people who doesn't want to vote. And second, men also has a lot more population than women itself. So it doesn't make sense for you to cover up those past elections that's already been made.
Okay. Let me correct you here. The 4% is not the remaining that doesn't show up. The 4% is the gap between male and female. The male and female. So get your facts correct first before POI me. Okay. So let me continue. So this allow the woman to represent their household. For that, So I don't know, maybe the opposition team didn't think that the votes of those who are ridden in bed couldn't show up to vote doesn't important. By allowing this motion to be implemented, okay, this will allow a better chance for a better leader to be elected in the public office. So I strongly suggest for the members of the floor to stand up with the government team to support the motion, which is this house would give women two votes in political election. With that, I end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Now, please welcome the first speaker of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, to open the case for their side.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Can I get the time on display? Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, it seems like the government today is delusional because first they need to tell us what a dire needs is. So what he told us about is in some countries they do not allow the women to vote. This is why they want to present this motion to the debate because they want to cater this problem. So let's see, this is a problem about the rights of the women itself, right? It doesn't need to be you have to allow women to vote because I'm going to show you how this could jeopardize jeopardize more than the benefits. Okay, let's first how to settle that their dire needs, how to settle their dire needs, right? First thing is we're talking about the if women didn't get the votes, they didn't get the rights to votes. It means that you don't have to do at first. You don't have to do two votes. What you need to do is to allow them to vote. That's the system that you need to change first, which is before you don't allow them to vote, and then you need to allow them to vote. That's the first thing that you need to do, and you have to justify why and justify how you want to do it. Second thing is let's talk about the stakeholders. They never mention us about the stakeholders into this debate. They only talk about how they want to do is they want to do this, but at the end of the day there's no beneficiary to the stakeholders, which I will explain to you two stakeholders, which is in terms of both of the genders, and the second one in terms of the politics itself. Third, they don't tell us what is the goal of their side. They said that their goal is to ensure that to cater the votes that has been missed, that the vote has been missed, so they're gonna represent these women gonna have two votes just to represent the husband. Okay, let's first say this is a disclosed thing that he needs to say, which is only women with husband only women with husband will go for the two votes. But what about other women? So what about other women who are single, who don't have the husband to represent too? So this is not overall justice that we need to talk about when we talk about the elections. When we talk about the voting, the voting system, it must be justice. It must be applied to all. And even if so, they want to represent women they want women to represent their husbands to vote. We're talking about votes. It's all about the individual rights. It's all about individual preference. It means that you cannot simply vote for your husband just because he's sick, because it's his preference. His decision to vote who on the side. So I'm done with the rebuttals because there are a lot of things they need to remember. There are a lot of things, and I believe that their dire needs is not what we need into this debate. But what we want to achieve in our world from opposition side is that we want to stick to the status quo, which is good enough in terms of gender equality and political elections. So what we are talking about today, we are not talking about the Saudi Arabia, we are not talking about the Taliban, we are not talking about those countries who don't allow women to vote. That's another thing to debate on, which is you have to allow them to vote first before going on to two votes. So let's first talk about how gender equality should be preserved in the first place in my argument, which is under equality and justice. I'm going to tell you how the equality could preserve in the status quo, and second, how the elections works, and third, this how does these two things are related to each other, and the beneficiary and also the cons towards the decision. Okay, first let's talk about the equality rights. When talking about equality, you are making like women are weak just because they are women. They must have two votes. It means that the in current system is not good enough. The current system is not sufficient enough to show that women are strong enough to vote in elections. So this is very disappointing from the government side. They are taking this issue just like women are weak just because of that they need two votes to be in elections. We are talking about gender equality. What the women are fighting for is the equality. It means that they get equality in the even in the voting system. So they do not need to be to be justified that they have to vote for two for they have to be two votes just to justify that they are strong to justify they are strong. They are strong enough. We from the position believe that we have the moral high ground. We believe that they are strong enough. That's why they are in the elections at the first place. Second, let's talk about how elections works, right? When talking about elections, it's all about anonymity. It means that no matter how many votes you give them, no matter how many votes you give, for example, 5 votes, 6 votes towards these women, the government cannot know who are the voters who are the voters, because we need to understand when talking about the voters are protected in terms of gender, in terms of race, uh, in in terms of gender and race, and also what their backgrounds are. Because when talking about votes, it's all about how you want to choose how you want to choose the leaders to govern your country, and it is important to make this anonymity. At the end of the day, it's still redundant, but what you're doing right now, it gives a big impact, which is comes to the same argument, but it comes to the reason why I said that these two are correlated. Okay, let's say I'm just gonna do the comparative about the how the current system is and how the system you are introducing, right? In the current system, every person has one vote. It means that every single person can vote once they are in elections. It means that the system works like they can count the votes based on that thing. But when talking about them, yes, the government may get the votes. For example, if they really want desperate, if they are desperate to win, just because of that they want to give women two votes. That's not necessary, because we believe we already have a gerrymandering system which is good enough to cater even if to cater the problems of the government if they want to get more votes. That's the first thing. Second is about the backlash will happen. What will happen? The backlash that will happen from the status quo. We believe that this is equal enough. We show that the equality is preserved to show that women have rights to votes. That's the reason why the votes become equality, just to show that equality. But when it comes to two votes, you are trying to say that the backlash from the women itself. It means that you are trying to say that women are not good enough. That is the reason why you want to give them two votes just to cater the problems. Even if you say that you want to have the husband, you want to have the husband to vote because those husbands are sick, but you have to stick with the we have to stick with the nature of the election itself, which is it must be animosity, which means that first, people have right to vote anyone they want, and nobody can vote for you. And second, the votes must be secret, and it must be preserved at the end of the day. So, since they don't give the burden, and we have shown you how the current system works, they must show us in what situation do we need two votes in one time, and they have to show us how it won't be a backlash because of this motion. With that, never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to say thank you to the speaker for their speech, and I welcome the second speaker of the government, the Deputy Prime Minister, to continue the case for their side.
Women's suffrage. Women's suffrage is defined as women's right to vote, right? What we, the government, is trying to say is that we are trying to empower their right to vote and not diminish it in a sense that, which I will be arguing afterwards. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebut what the leader opposition has said, and I'm going to present two of my. But before I continue, I bid good afternoon to the panel of judges, the beautiful timekeeper, the worthy opponents, and my fellow comrades, as well as the members of the floor. Now, what the leader of opposition has failed to understand is that he thinks that what my prime minister have said is we are the women are going to use the privilege of two votes to exclusively vote for their husband, which is not what my prime minister said. What he said was it is to allow women to cover up the remaining percentage to those who didn't show up to vote. It means that they can come and cover up for the women who can't go out to
POI?
vote due to due to the husband's permission. Yes.
Okay, you're putting out exclusive cases that how these husbands are getting sick and stuff like that. Okay, so if those cases that doesn't happen, that means
We
that these
never
women have
put it explicitly.
no. If those cases doesn't happen, those women will have 3 votes. And then the second thing is you're saying that you're basically
It's,
saying that
it's very long. Sorry. Yeah.
okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So what my prime minister have said is that we are not just putting this exclusively for their husbands. We are also trying to show that women can use this privilege of voting 2 times, not to just represent their husbands, but to those who are incapable to go and vote, right? And we never clarify that we think women are weak. We are trying to put the two voting system is because we are trying to show that we trust them and we are confident with their actions, right? And we're trying to empower the women's suffrage, and and
POI,
we
sir.
and he mentioned about the moral high ground. They have the moral high ground. Well, science overweighs moral high ground. Science has proved that women biologically is different than men. The way of thinking, premenstrual cycle, right? But I'll explain that more further on. Yes, the POI.
So it's okay for you to jeopardize the nature of election itself, which is to be anonymous, to ensure that the vote is there, to ensure the system is there. Is it okay for you to vote for other person who might choose other candidates than you?
Mind you that they are voting and representing people who have gave their consent to represent in voting system. And now I am going to further elaborate on my argument, which is it gives the women choice of voting 2 times due to their instability of emotions, which dictates their actions. What do I mean by this? Now, as we know, female women gets menstrual cycle, right? And this menstrual cycle is not something that we choose to get. It's something biological. It's been going on for centuries, and it has been proven that it causes instability of hormones. What do I mean by this? Now, instability of hormones is that the chemicals in the brain is what helps and what contributes to what we decide. Now, in their matter is that when they are going through premenstrual cycle, the testosterone increases and dopamine is in a low level. A research from National Center of Biotechnology has shown that women at reproductive age, which is at the age of 15 to 49, which is at the right age and where people have the full mental capacity to vote, is they experience dynamic changes in levels of sex hormones. Now, this premenstrual syndrome includes mood and behavioral changes such as irritability, depression, mood swings that develops during the luteal phase within few days of
POI,
menstrual
sir.
cycle occurs up to 75% of females. Now, these changes in estrogen and progesterone level could affect their physical and psychological state. Now, this effect of psychological state could dictate what they feel at that moment. Now, they might have this kind of syndromes when they first voted, right? So they have the choice to vote on the second time so that they could thoroughly think, did they vote for the right person? Did they do enough research? Is everything okay? We are not
POI?
jeopardizing the we are not jeopardizing the diplomacy and the disclosure of identity right?
POI.
Yes, POI. Yeah.
All right. So you're saying that they have two votes because the first vote maybe is wrong and stuff like that because they have emotions and stuff like that. So what happens to the first vote when you give him the second vote?
What happens to the first vote? It's still counted, yes, but with the second vote itself, it shows that we are confident that they can make the right decision by giving the second vote. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and present my second point, which is it can empower women to feel involved in politics. Now, with this two voting system, right? There will be statistics. There will be percentages whereby women will see that most of their gender will be more included in politics itself, which is they can vote for two times, right? So with this, the women's suffrage can be reinforced in itself, and it will increase awareness and encourage the women to go out and vote. Now, this, I believe, will strongly suggest and will strongly stand with our stance, which is this House would give women two votes in political elections. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the speaker for their remarks. So now I would like to welcome the second speaker of the opposition, the deputy leader of opposition, to continue the debate for their side.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm as the second speaker for the government side, are going to are going to settle up for my I'm going to do two things. First, my rebuttals, and then my arguments. Okay, let's go first to my rebuttals. Um, okay, when the prime minister said that the votes for the woman is allowed to represent for other people. Okay, in this case, why we didn't give the rights to men to represent others too? In this case, it is not fair for government just being focused on women's where for on the women's. Where is the equality? Okay, next, votes also. When the deputy prime minister said that votes be being related to women hormones, it is insane because votes, it is not make sense why you have to relate about votes with the hormones of the woman. I'm as the woman, I know that. What I don't understand just why you are trying to prove that women mostly have unstable hormones or what? Are you going to say that we are unstable emotional? What, are you going to say that we as a woman always did a wrong decision? It's not just about our period related to our hormones. It's not make sense at all. Make sense at all. Okay, just I have the rebuttals, and okay, let's go to our my arguments. Okay, when it comes to selections, yes, as the prime minister, as the leader opposition said that vote vote in selection is the characteristic of the vote itself is vote anonymously and no gender's revelation in the selections. So when we give two votes to women, it uh somehow it shows that women are weak because because they give the specialty because they think that women are not going to make a right decision. Okay, I'm as okay, we as a woman, I don't think that we need the sympathy by those people because we know that we already know that everything that we have in the selections already enough to change the future itself. Men's for sure they don't know the things that we as women need actually because we don't need the special treatment. because if anyone is spreading the lie that women lack the rationality and emotional strength to act like fully fledged adults, it is progressive. By just in our opinion, by just having one vote as the women's, is automatically show that we made the right decisions and is more fair for men and women. Okay, my my second arguments are going to, okay, when, as we said, that politicians will manipulate women's in the selections because they know that women have advantages in voting over men. They
AI,
will
AI,
exaggerate, no thank
AI.
you, they will exaggerate those women to get everything they want. They don't care either the things are wrong or right things because what they need are only the votes from the women's. When this happens, men's opinion being ignored and their voices are not being heard, it will stress them out
AI.
mentally. No thank you. Besides, their pride abandoned by the government because government created a new norm in the society that is never exist before. Yes, I agree. Women will be successful in this situation, but those men are not going to are going to be set aside, and men's voice are not important in the eyes of the society anymore. By all those advantages that women have, it will manipulate
AI.
politicians. No, thank you. Let me finish my word first. Have By all those advantages that women have, it will manipulate politicians to misuse their power and put the country's future in high risk. At the end of the day, whatever man says, it will be overshadowed by the women's. For sure that we don't want to face this thing in the future. We want to put our country in an equality and the votes of their rights being heard by all the society. They want to be another someone that being special more than others. We as women, for sure, we are not going to see that because we want equality in the vote itself. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you from the Deputy Leader of Opposition. So now let us welcome the government whip to summarize the debate for the government side.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna start my speech in three, two, one. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon I bid to a lovely educators, wonderful judges, my fellow comrades, and my worthy opponents. So today I'm gonna be the government whip for today's sessions, and for the motion that been given is this house would give women two votes in political elections. So I'm gonna summarize all the arguments that have been given by the Prime Minister and also the Deputy Prime Minister, and also I'm gonna rebut of some of the points that have been given by the opposition's team. So first of all, about the first arguments that have been that just mentioned by the um, Prime Minister, which is to allow women to cover up the remaining percentage of women who didn't show up for the elections vote. So what the meaning by this? It means that it allows women for those women who ongoing uh, go to the votes elections who that to cover up. It's not about like women who are uh, not married yet. It's about women who can't go to the elections to vote. Okay,
QI.
it's yes you may.
All right. So again, with the 4%, you don't know whether why is the reason they can't go. And a second, what happens to those kind of men who doesn't go to the election? Do they have a second say in that?
Okay, I understand your question. Okay, it's like this about the woman. For those for the 4% remaining women who can't go to the vote, it's like yes, we may not know the exact excuses why they can't go, but as far as I know, it's maybe it's out of their capability to go to the elections vote. So that's why some the remaining women who go to the vote can representative the remaining women who can't go to the vote to vote for them. And as for the man's itself, um it's um man, we as a man, we know we can go to the vote, the elections vote, and there's there seems to be no problem of the man to have any kind of excuses, because women have some of the excuses which are not can't be like, how do I say it? How do I put in words that can't be um it's like they just can't go. It's like it's their thing, they have their woman thing. It's not that it's not I'm trying to compare man thing and woman thing. I'm just saying that maybe sometimes the woman can't able to go, but man, they able to go. Something like that. Okay. And moving on to the points that have been given by the leader position, which is um in terms of genders and politicals, other women who don't have husband, just like I mentioned before, it's not about the marriage itself. Like, um how do I say, yes, I understand some of the women's voters are actually like, how do I say, um they are not, they're not married yet. Okay, they're not married yet. So some of them like most of let's say like this lah. um if the other women who are single women, who are not married women, who can't go to the elections vote, the other woman can represent others to vote for those who can't go it. And then um about the um you say women's,
QI.
yes, you may.
All right. So about the representing the household and stuff like that. So
Mm.
why does it have to be a woman? Why can't a friend, a male friend, a cousin, a male, to represent that person's vote? Why does it have to be woman?
Okay, just like I mentioned just now, it's like, okay, why do men, why not men who are going to represent the women's? Okay, it's like this. It's like we're more focusing on women's side. Okay, like on the man side, on the man side, it's about the like, how do I say, like I mentioned just now, to like preserve confidentially, like husband will share more to his, sorry, husband will share more to his wife compared to her cousins, or maybe her male friends related and so on. She more preferable, she more um com, com, like comfort, like how do I say, it's like just like I say lah, um it's about their comfort. Yes, it's about their comfort. It's about their comfort. Why do they want to share like their um reviews or their opinions itself towards other? They're more comfortable to share it with their like their own wife. For those who are married, for those who aren't married, they maybe, yes, I understand that, yes, that they may be like how do I say that, it's like about the um like, how do I say, it's about the opinion itself. Okay. And about the points that have been given by the deputy leader of opposition, which she mentions about the that our women's gonna make mistakes, that the woman requires two votes. It's not about we're not saying that woman makes mistakes. All people make mistakes, but we're talking about, yes, I understand it's a very sensitive part, like it's like when it comes to a menstrual cycle, okay, women's they tend to not think very efficiently. They're not thinking straight due to the emotions itself, due to the mood swing and so on. Okay, so by having two votes for for the women's, the woman can, for the first vote, we maybe the woman were not voting like correctly, or maybe they were not thinking efficiently, or maybe they were not thinking correctly. So by the second vote, maybe they can think rationally and think more right on choosing what candidate. So that I end my speech for today's sessions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to the government whip. Please welcome the opposition whip to sum up for the opposition team.
Hello, y'all hear me?
Yes.
Alright. Wait a minute. Mm. All right. I'll start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am so mad of the government side. I feel that today the women who are sitting in this room are feel so violated because they are proving status. They are giving out science facts and stuff like that to prove that women at the end of the day they are weak and so on. And I believe that I feel like my second speaker today is so violated, but whatever the government side said, because they are basically just throwing out facts saying that women are weak. Okay, so okay lah. Let's try to bite the bullet. Let us opposition bite the bullet and say that okay, women will have a second say. Women can do second vote. But again, they are delusional. They are saying, okay, on the other hand, they say, okay, that women have problems with menstrual issues. They have women, with periods and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, they also say that, okay, they could represent. So what happens if they represent, if a woman represent and they still have the same problems? Wouldn't it like create more problems? Like women represent women, they will have 4 votes at the end of the day. And this kind of things. The problem with the opposition government side today is that the mechanism is so weak that we don't really understand that what they want to try to achieve. All right, so before I start my debate for today, let's divide my room into two. First, I would like to destroy the government side case, and second, I would like to stand up for opposition side, because today we win this debate. All right, let's move on to the government side. From the first speaker to the third speaker, what's the problem with the government side today? All right, so starting with the first speaker, he stated facts, for Vatican City and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Those are big cities, and then he had the dare to say that okay, we don't want to do this kind of thing. We want to start on a small places. We want to see whether it's working or not. And they also have doubts with the mechanism and how it will work. So I don't really understand, like trying to show off these big countries that doesn't have women to vote and stuff like that, and then just come out to say that we want to do it on a small project, science and stuff like that. I don't really understand what the government's like to try to achieve, and I really hate the way they bring this case. And then they also talk about again from the first speaker to the third speaker that keep talking about this 4% fact about how these women cannot go vote, because whatever kind of reason they have, emotional and stuff like that. Okay, these kind of things also happen to men itself. But we as a man, do we brag about it? Do we cry about it? Do we really need to go back to the past because we didn't vote like how many other times, and then just to fix the future at the end of the day? Because I don't really understand like why this woman particularly needs to revote, or basically to cover up those 4%, which we don't really understand that why do they vote doesn't vote. Maybe because maybe they really doesn't want to vote. Maybe they don't really believe in politics itself. And I don't really understand that why we need to cater for the past that has already happened. The president has already been elected, the government is already there, and I don't really understand that why do we really need to go back to the past and cater for these 4%? I don't really understand what the government are trying to do today. And then again, with the representing household and how this woman can represent the husband and stuff like that, which I don't really understand. Why does it particularly have to be a woman? Why can't it be a man, male friends and stuff like that, cousins, stuff like that? So I don't really understand that. What is the dire need for a woman to have a second vote? So basically, I just basically giving out examples that we really doesn't see, like men getting paralysis and stuff like that, which rarely occurred. So I don't really see like the dire need for us to have this motion in the first place. I don't really see that why women need to have second 2 votes in the first place. All right, so let's move on to the second speaker, which I really love what he said. He keeps talking about, he keeps giving us stating science facts that okay, women have emotional, women have period, women have a lot of things that could mess up their mind at the end of the day. And I don't really understand that what the government trying to achieve? Are you saying that women is at the end of the day they are still weak? They need to have a second say. And I also appeal him about what happened to the first vote. If you think that this kind of women are weak, what happened to the first vote at the end of the day? So they also said, okay, the first vote will also be counted. So I don't really understand. The plot holes in the government side today is so big that we don't understand that. Okay, if you say that this first vote that has happened have problems with mental issues and stuff like that, so why do you still cater for it? Why do you still want to put it in the election system itself? And this kind of things also has already been stated by my first speaker, that how at the end of the day these kind of things will jeopardize the election system itself. All right, so let's move on. All right, and then so he also stated that by giving women two votes, they could be more interested in voting itself. Which yes, I do agree. Yes, definitely. But also, my second speaker already stated that this kind of things will also lead to an exploitations of vote, which at the end of the day will create more problems in certain issues. All right, so yeah, basically that's the sum up of the government side case. Very messy, lots of plot holes. I don't really understand that the very dire need of women to have a second say in the vote in the election system. All right, so let's move on to the opposition side, which is definitely the better side of this case on this debate. All right, so let's move on with the first speaker. We are talking to you about how gender equality works. How at the end of the day, women are strong enough. They don't need they don't need this kind of empathy. They don't need people to cater for their kind of problems. We believe that women and men have the same power. They are on the same level. We don't need to privilege one over another. And we believe that this kind of things, at the end of the day, prove that women are as strong as men. And then we also talk about how the election system works, how it is basically anonymous, and it doesn't really matter whether you're a man or woman. It doesn't matter like how many votes do you need. And also how it could jeopardize the election system itself, because one vote count as two and another vote count as one, so it is making the process of the election system itself hard. And then at the end of the day, we also talk about what backlash will happen, because this kind of movement are, the feminism movement that nowadays are, they don't really like being empathized. They don't really need help from us men, and they don't really think like, oh, these kind of things should be available for women, to have second votes, and those kind of backlash that will happen towards the government itself and towards everyone that thinks that women need a second say at the end of the day. All right, let's move on to the second speaker, our beautiful little Sarah, which is violated by the government side today. All right, so she talks about how women at the end of the day, they are strong. They don't need empathy. Whatever things that you throw at them, those period cycles, those emotions and stuff like that, at the end of the day, they can still stand on their own 2 feet, and they can make their own decision because they are strong as men. Maybe they are more stronger than men, but at the end of the day, they don't need this kind of empathy that the government side trying to show to us. All right, so and then we also talk about the exploitation of vote, how at the end of the day, this politician will prioritize women more because they know that these women have more say in the election system itself. And at the end of the day, men will lose power. There will be men will be more oppressed because these women are overshadowing their votes, overshadowing whatever they say because they have more votes than them. And also at the end of the day, it will create a more bigger void in the gender equality itself. And we believe that we from the opposition side, we believe that the current status quo is good enough. Women doesn't need to be empathized. Women doesn't need a second say at the end of the day, because we as humans, we know that we are imperfect, but right now the current status quo is enough. Women are created perfectly. Women are beautiful, and by that I stand by women. I rest my case here. Thank you, opposition side wins.
Okay, I would like to thank to all speakers for their speeches. Now, let's give the government and the opposition sides 5 minutes to prepare for their reply speech. Please be aware that the reply speech will be for 4 minutes and no POIs is allowed. So now let us welcome Tuan Ashraf from the opposition side to give reply speech.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Right. Starting my speech in three, two, one. Major Chairperson, I'll never be this mad in my reply speech, but I try to be as calm as possible because what they are doing today is that they are insulting women, they are insulting your rights, they are insulting the nature of women themselves, they are insulting all those things who might be my girlfriend, who might be my mother. So I'm very mad in my reply speech today. But in my reply speech, there'll be three things. The first one, what are the crucial issues in both sides? So I'm gonna analyze on both sides what's the crucial issue. The second one is beneficiary of status quo and cons of their proposal that gonna be the turnover of today's debate. And third one, why we should win the debate. Let's move on to the crucial issues in both sides. From the government side, they said that it needs to be done because they believe the dire needs is because they want to cater the problem of not having enough votes from the women, and they believe that this is the way to ensure that women could go to votes and cater the problems by having two votes. Now this is a problem. Even if it is a solution to cater voting percentage, it's not the way to do, because we have to understand, first you need to understand the nature of election itself, and the second, the rights of people to vote, which cater the stakeholders into the debate. Let's go first to the nature of election, right? When talking about election, it's all about anonymity. It means that no matter who you are, whatever your background is, it's important to keep it secret, because it is the nature of election, which is to choose the leader. So we don't need this kind of capacity to ensure that votes happen in the first place. Second is about the rights. So this comes from the mechanism from the government side, which says that the women can vote to those who cannot vote. For example, to those who are ill, who cannot go to voting. We're talking about rights, right? Even if you are trying to help these people, it cannot surpass the rights of the people to vote itself. For example, if you allow someone to vote for you, we do not know what is the result of the vote itself. It means that that person could jeopardize the result itself. I mean, if you vote for A, the person could vote for B. So that's the situation they are trying to do, and I believe this is the loopholes of their case. When talking about the rights, right? The anonymity of votes itself is good enough because it caters both justice and also equality equality in the system itself. That's the reason why we come with the arguments that we mentioned about, first the equality, and also second about the justice system that is already exists in the status quo. Okay, let's go to the beneficiary of status quo and cons of their proposal. Let's study what is the status quo. In status quo, no matter you are male, no matter you are female, you have the same rights to vote. It means it is equal enough. It is to show that it gives rights to men and women. Second thing, when they talk about giving two votes, like they are trying to put another. They're trying to. Seems like they want to give the advantage towards another gender. Somehow it will come to two backlash. First from the women themselves, and second from the men. First from the women is because they feel that they are unworthy to vote as equal as men, because they believe they need two votes, just because they need two votes to ensure that they're in the system. And the second one, backlash toward men. What happened to as said by my second speaker, what happened to the place that have many women, those person are elected because of those votes from the women itself. So even if this candidate wants to win, it doesn't have to be two votes from women. He can do the gerrymandering system, which is already in the system right now. So I believe everything we do at the end of the so why we should win the debate is because we believe that at the end of the day, if you want to win, even if you want to win the vote, even if you want people to vote, you cannot jeopardize the rights and equality that is happening that is happening in the status quo. I believe I'm better than from the other side. Never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. So now I'm invite Muhammad Aiman Zikri from the Government Week, to give the reply speech.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start my speech in three, two, one. Oh, poor opposition team. Sorry. Yes. So poor. Poor opposition team. So I believe they are on the losing side because of for several reasons. Okay. First and foremost, they don't fully understand the mechanism that the government has proposed. The government proposed of implementing the system, okay, the law, to such a small scale level first before implementing it into the nation level. So what's wrong on improving something that we can't be sure of the implementation of the pro and cons? I said the government has research about the pro and cons, the upsides and the downsides of uh, the implementation of this um, motion, but it is on a theoretical level, but not on a practical level. So why is it wrong for us to study more about the pro and cons that we never haven't even thought of that might be happening if the motion is accepted? So the second thing is, I believe that the government, uh, the opposition side is lack of preparation because the deputy of leader of opposition didn't accept any of our POI. Thus, it shows that they lack of preparation, and yes, they might be prepared, but they are scared if the POI are going to interrupt her speech, her preparation. That is, she can't expect it. So, and the third thing is the opposition has said that the status quo is good enough. It shows that the opposition doesn't have the nation interest, the woman's interest in their mind. So why should we trust the opposition team when they don't have the they feel like the status quo is good enough and they don't want to change it, and they keep talking about anonymity and yada yada yada, but the thing is anonymity is going to be anonymous. That's what I said. I believe the whip speaker of the government team said the women are choose because, like the example that the government team has said, it will represents the household. Okay, so I believe that if I'm married, I will share more to my wife compared to the cousin, the extended family. I believe in that. So the anonymity will remain confidential, and yeah, I believe that our argument is better because we have those who didn't show up in mind. They are the opposition team only thinking about the women who are allowed to vote, but we manage to think about those who can't vote for various reasons. So with that, I end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you for the reply speech. With that, the debate for this round has ended. Please be informed that this is a silent round, thus no result will be announced now. The educators may move to your respective room. Participants, you may move to the main room for further instruction. Thank you to everyone for joining the session.
Thank you, educators. Thank you, Chairperson. GG, everyone.
GG.